I'm the treacherous patriot with the news they don't want you to know. Shout out to all my real ones locked down because of the coronavirus. 330 million strong on house arrest. Shout out to all my medical professionals risking their lives. And shout out to the glide bags being improvised as protective gear because our government is inept. Shout out to all my Chinese Americans and Asians being mistaken as Chinese Americans that are going through it right now because of ignorance and fear. Shout out to China for starting this entire mess, and shout out to the media for making it racist for me to say that. Good for you. Good for you. Because though I will acknowledge there are people that are using this as a pretext to lash out against Asians, those fools were predisposed to that type of behavior. They're just using fear as an excuse to let go of their inhibitions, like a sorority girl on Thirsty Thursday. No, that second beer didn't make you sleep with the lacrosse team, Karen. And the plague didn't make you stomp out Mr. Lee. If you waste your purge night hunting Asians, that's something you just really wanted to do. Also, the media are hypocrites.
The Wuhan Coronavirus, the Wuhan Coronavirus, the Wuhan Coronavirus.
The 34-year-old ophthalmologist diagnosed Saturday with the Wuhan Coronavirus.
The Wuhan virus.
The Wuhan Coronavirus.
The Wuhan Coronavirus. What more can you tell us about the similarities or differences between SARS and the Wuhan Coronavirus?
The Wuhan Coronavirus.
The Wuhan Coronavirus.
It was natural to call it the Wuhan Coronavirus because it originated in Wuhan, China, and we identify diseases by their country of origin all the time. Spanish flu, West Nile. There's a strain of the coronavirus called MERS, which is an acronym for Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. So there's nothing wrong with calling it the Wuhan Coronavirus because the People's Republic of China, not the Chinese people, but their government, need to be held accountable. They damn near triggered a mini doomsday. Not quite an apocalypse, but more like a false start. This is a rough outline of what the collapse of society looks like, and I am not feeling it. I would not survive. The run on toilet paper alone left me shit out of luck. China needs to be held accountable. So does Trump and our entire political establishment, but I'll get to those fools later. China found out about the outbreak back in November. Not only did they conceal it from the rest of the world, they punished those that tried to blow the whistle. Dr. Lee tried to warn his friends about the outbreak, and he was imprisoned. He's now dead from the coronavirus. A recent study found that if China had warned the world 3 weeks prior, they could have curbed 95% of the current deaths. If not for the deception, the world could have contained this. And now look at the world. There's no more basketball because China did some bull. But not only did China facilitate the spread of this disease by keeping us in the dark, they also crippled our ability to guard against it. China produces most of our medical gear. This is why we're in such a deficit when it comes to gloves, protective masks, what the media affectionately calls PPE. God, I'm so tired of phrases like PPE and flatten the curve. I swear when the media learns a new term, it's like a pubescent boy when he first discovers the wonders of lubricant. Except for you, son. You won't engage in that type of behavior, will you? Nah, not at all. But the reason why we're dependent on China is because we lost our manufacturing sector to the tune of 6 million jobs. And this happened shortly after China joined the World Trade Organization in 2000. In fact, 2.4 million jobs were lost directly due to Chinese imports. This is where the incompetence and absolute avarice of our political establishment comes into play. Yes, Trump is a fool that ignored the outbreak from the onset and worsened it by ignoring the intelligence that forecast this current situation. He also hamstrung our capabilities of combating this by dissolving the pandemic unit designed for situations exactly like this one. But we didn't lose our manufacturing sector overnight or over the last 3 years. This has been decades in the making. Bill Clinton signed the deal letting China into the World Trade Organization. And Joe Biden not only wheeled and dealed in the Senate to make sure that happened, he has continually defended this and claimed that China is not a threat to us.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not they're competition for us.
That aged about as well as Macaulay Culkin, Joe. And if you didn't catch that last part, he was saying China is no competition for us. No, I don't speak dementia, but I use Google Translate. So on the one hand, you have an incompetent manager like Trump at the helm. On the other hand, you have him being challenged by a politician and his neoliberal buddies who helped lay the foundation for this problem by crippling our ability at self-reliance. This speaks to the heart of what's one of the biggest problems with our political system. Politicians do what's best for the highest bidder rather than what's best for the entire country. Big business and China lobbied for this legislation. So our political establishment acquiesced. Not only has China supplanted our manufacturing sector and taken control over a huge portion of our medical supply, they also control our pharmaceuticals. According to data from the Commerce Department, China accounted for 95% of U.S. imports of ibuprofen, 91% of hydrocortisone, 70% of acetaminophen, 40 to 45% of penicillin, and 40% of heparin. Even when the drug is manufactured in the US or someplace else, the ingredients most likely come from either China or India. This is why Trump's trade war with China is a bit of a joke. If China really wanted to cripple us, all they have to do is close the spigot and cut off our drug supply. A fact China seems to be aware of, seeing as they use their state-run media to threaten to allow us to drown in a sea of coronavirus. This is on top of their ambassador accusing the United States of being the one to spread it in China during a military tournament. Keep in mind, the origins of the virus are still a bit shaky. We do know that it came from Wuhan, but the backstory about it coming from bats at an exotic food market, I don't know if I buy it. But what is certain is that our relationship with China has become a national security threat. They control our PPE, hate that phrase, and our pharmaceuticals. They have decimated our manufacturing industry. They sparked a demo zombie apocalypse, then have the audacity to blame it on us. Then they cut our supply of PPE, hate that phrase, threatened to cut our supply of pharmaceuticals, and to top it all off, they single-handedly ruined the NBA season on some Kevin Durant shit. How dare you? You look so pretty. It's just me in the background, like a music video, bro. Eating looking cute.
Are you recording?
No. Oh shit, I am.
This is the treacherous patriot with the news they don't want you to know. In 1995, Hillary Clinton married filing jointly on her taxes. But was it joint? We'll get back to that. First, we'll give you some details about Gaza, the Gaza Strip. Take it away, Bumblebee. Tell them about Gaza. Tell them about Gaza. Is this thing on? Testing. Testing. This is the treacherous patriot with the news they don't want you to know. Who's they? We'll figure that out.